On this week's show, we're discussing PlayStation 5 selling more than 60 million units, Xbox delaying Avowed back into 2025, and Meta closing down the fantastic Order 1886 studio, ready at dawn. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the weekly video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuild TV and up there, available in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. You're joining myself, Chris, this week alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thank you. Yes, I'm refreshed. I've been on holiday and so refreshed, in fact, Richie, I'm going to go away again next week. So just for our audience members so they know, yes, I've done Italy. Now I'm off to France with the family. So looking forward to it. But I did listen in. I did tune in last week, you and Rob. Amazing show. I've got some updates from my thing. I know you brought a couple of things up during the show that I would have been interested in, so I've got some quick fire answers for our audience and for you and Rob out there as well. But of course, we do have a great show lined up for everyone listening and watching along. But before we get into all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the great content we do here on the channel, like this very show, our weekly live streams, our retro look-backs, and much, much more. But you won't get all that unless you follow us, you like us, you subscribe. Do comment down below just to help out with the algorithm. And of course, you can become a guild hero from as little as 99 pence, where you get the show early. So why not contemplate doing that as well? It'll help us out a lot as we embark, Richie, on the next year of GamerGuild TV, because actually this episode's quite special.
It is.
It's episode 52, so we've done a whole year. We made it.
We did, and we didn't rebrand.
And we didn't rebrand yet. What did talking the PS and XPass make it? They both made it past a year, correct?
XPass did. Talking the PS, I don't think did.
Did it not? Oh, that's a shame.
No, which one did we start first? I can't remember.
In the demise
I can't remember the order
of Google Stadia, I can't remember. We did 161 Stadia
Talking
podcasts.
the PS was first because we had that alongside Sounds of Stadia.
Ah, wow. Oh, well, so they both made it past a year mark, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're keeping on track. We're keeping on trend. The good thing with this one not being dedicated to one platform, which was the initial thought, the outlay, was that we don't have to rebrand. It covers everything. The GamerGuild Podcast. You want some VR, you want some retro, you want some modern stuff mixed in with your PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and PC news, then this is the place for it. And we do thank everyone who has tuned in and watched along for a whole year, believe it or not. It's been ticking over. It's been going very, very well, and we do appreciate everyone who tunes in. But as I said, if you want to support us that extra bit further, if you've listened for a whole year, why not consider dedicating a whole 99p to us to bring you better quality content, keep investing in the channel to bring you better stuff, because there's a lot of games on the horizon, Richie, and I would hate to think our audience miss out, because it just stretches our own personal finances that little bit too much where we can't afford to play something in a sad roundabout way. But yes, as I said, we've got a great show. I'm back. Weekly live stream, Richie. This past week you went back to Zelda. I watched a little bit of it. How are we faring? Are we nearing the end? Is the Ocarina of Time being eaten? I presume that's what happens at the end of the game.
That is completely what happens. Link eats the Ocarina of Time, becomes a god, and just clicks. And Thanos snaps Ganon out of existence, then runs away with Zelda to get married. And then some shit.
And Miyamoto sits there and slow claps the whole time.
Yep. That's exactly what happens. We're getting there. It was a bit of a shorter episode because I just didn't have as much time. There's also a million degrees in here. So I didn't actually, it's the first one of my live streams where I didn't actually complete a dungeon.
Wow.
I got up to the next dungeon and I just did a few side questy bits just to tidy up. So my next stream will be going into the Spirit Temple, which is the last of the main dungeons before you go for the final dungeon.
Oh, okay. So maybe 2 more left then?
I reckon 2 more plus cleanup. So maybe, I reckon 3.
Brilliant. And we are on the horizon now of all of the holidays being out of the way. So for anyone wondering what we're streaming week to week, is we will get back eventually to our long playthroughs as co-op. So I'm probably thinking Gears 2 is next. So then we're on a level playing field with maybe Halo and Gears bounce to bounce.
I mean, we have a comment. We have a comment section.
That's true. Let us know in the comments below what you would like to see us play next. Gears of War 2, Halo 3, something different entirely. There will probably be sprinkles of single-player stuff. I think, Richie, you've whet my appetite for some Uncharted action, so I think I might go back and start Uncharted 1 at some point. And, of course, the weird thing is we're actually getting close to Halloween in a weird way as well. So there might be horror streams in there. There's a new, obviously, Call of Duty comes out, so we'll probably be doing some of that with our audience. I fancy multiplayer zombies with the amazing folks out there who watch along and listen every week. Could be fun. And of course, lots of games coming up on the horizon. We are well aware Gamescom is next week at some point, or maybe just the week after, but it is the week I'll be away out of the country, so we probably won't cover it as much as we normally would do with Jeff Keighley's opening night live, and then any sequential, what the hell am I saying? Substantial news, sequential, sounds like a good word. Any substantial news that comes out from there, we'll of course cover it on this very show. But Richie,
yes, we will. Before
we get into the news, shout out to Rob as well for holding down the fort last week. It is appreciated. Tomorrow we're going to go get drunk with him and many of our other friends. It's a stag do, so this has been recorded on the Friday, so apologies if we do miss any news from the Saturday or the Sunday, but of course our guild heroes know that already because they've listened to the show early for supporting us a little bit more. Before we get into the news, what have you been playing aside from Zelda this past week, Richie? What have you been dabbling in my absence?
I mean, you mentioned Zelda being this week's live stream. It wasn't actually. Zelda was last week's. You were playing Crash Bandicoot.
That's true. You know why I completely forgot? Because it was a pre-recorded live stream. I did it ahead of time, so I had some free time in the evening. And yes, it was Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. It's wrote right in front of me on the dock, and for some reason my eyes and my ears aren't connecting and working today. It's been a long week of travel and exhaustion, so... Yes, Crash Insane Trilogy in the clouds. Straight into Xbox Game Pass. Of course, one of my favourite games, my favourite mascot of all time. It's a collection of some of my favourite games of all time, up-resed up from 2018, I believe it was released. Beautiful. I jumped in, I played for about an hour and 50 minutes. I checked out all 3 games, 1, 2, 3. I almost got sucked in to just finishing the first game because I'm so familiar with it. I finished like the first island in I think about half an hour, and then you're almost like, well, there's only 2 more left, so do I just keep? And I was like, no, I want to give everyone a good look at all 3 games. Jumping into it, so
I actually had an idea because remember when we played Stray, which is actually in the news today, and we did that race.
Yes,
we could do a Crash Bandicoot race.
I mean, I'm 100% down for a Crash Bandicoot race.
Like the same kind of split screen idea. With Crash, it might work.
I mean, the levels are linear, so it's not like you can run off and get lost in a different area to each other. It's very much... And there's time trials available in the Insane Trilogy.
I'd say we start with Crash 2 rather than 1 because you've already played a bit of 1, but...
I'll be honest, I don't think either game we pick is going to make a difference to...
Yeah. Oh, you're going to win this race.
I said that about Stray, but... I have the muscle memory. Yeah. I have the muscle memory for this one.
Yeah, you are very much more bigger. You know the levels. I don't really.
Yeah.
I've played Crash. I've never been a huge Crash fan. Never disliked Crash, but it was PS1 era mainly. I didn't have a PS1.
That's a big void to be missing.
Yeah.
But I'm totally down for that. So again, let us know in the comments below, folks, what you'd like us to see playing. Aside from the live stream that I was playing, I've been dabbling, Richie, of course. As you said, got back from Rome. Might have checked out Assassin's Creed 2. Had a little wander out.
It's Brotherhood you need to play.
Yeah, didn't really do much aside from try and find some of the locations, which obviously they're more exclusive to Brotherhood, so that probably would have been a smarter start. I thought if I get sucked in, I want to do them back to back, but I don't think I have the scope or time.
Well, I did the same thing when I got back from Rome. It's sheer coincidence that we both went to Rome this year. It's surprisingly, it reminds you to realize how small it is in like Brotherhood.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, I think I played because Assassin's Creed 2, actually, at the end, you do go to Rome and you go to Vatican City. And as you climb into Vatican City, you turn around and like the Colosseum's right there.
Yeah.
it's miles away.
Yeah.
It's walkable, but it is like an hour's walk.
Yeah, it's I'd say about 50 minutes in the hot 38 degrees, which we did it in. Last week because we did walk. We didn't get the metro or the train anywhere. We just walked everywhere, so my feet are aching and it was very hot, but very interesting to get back. And then again, I think that's one of the reasons I do love Assassin's Creed, is just the realization of it all. I remember playing Unity not long after being in Paris, and it's so well realized. Like, I would love them, and they will eventually, Ubisoft, to go back to Italy and Rome and Venice and stuff and Florence and showcase it with just modern graphics and modern 3D map scanning, and the scale would obviously be a bit more to fit, because the gap between like Castel d'Angelo, the Vatican, and the Colosseum and stuff in the game is all very much just a stone's throw. Yeah. But again, at the sign of the times. But yeah, went back, checked that. I did have an itch to play Age of Empires as well, for some random reason. Probably just observing so many ruins.
Because you like playing Rome, embracing Roman history, and
then Age of Mythology is out just under a month, which does focus on the gods, more Greek, but still.
That's going to we're going to have to stream that.
I mean, it's on Game Pass, so we'll have opportunity, definitely. But so a couple of things, and I'm still chipping away at the Daxter game. I'm hoping to wrap up the platinum before I go on holiday for that one. It's more of a collectathon at this stage, but it's very relevant to the news, because, as I said on 2 weeks ago, Daxter was actually made by Ready at Dawn. RIP later on in the news, so we'll get to them as well as our order conversation. So aside from me playing those games, what have you been playing then, aside from Zelda?
Just Uncharted 4. I am literally on the last fight of my crushing playthrough. I'm also doing, because the trophy list for Assassin's Creed Uncharted 4 is a lot harder than the other games. So there's things like you have to complete the entire game with 70% accuracy. I am currently about 78% accuracy, and I'm about to do the last fight, which does not involve a gun.
Oh, well.
So I'm good. I'm good there.
You're good. You're set up pretty well for that one then.
Then I've just got a few miscellaneous trophies, and then have to play through the entire game again in 6 hours.
Right. That's doable.
Yeah, it's doable. But I need that's one where I need to find time to book out a 6-hour period where I can just sit on my ass and play Uncharted undistracted.
I'd love them to do an Uncharted in Rome. Like they very much
love them to do another Uncharted.
I mean that too, but they very much stay away from cities, actually, don't they? Like you have a couple of parts where especially in 4, where you go through, is it in Madagascar? You go through like a town, but you're not you don't get a chance to walk around and explore and it's really
just like a small market area you go through.
Yeah, it's not like and I know they're not really open world games, but I think when it comes to history and relics and digging up the past, I think setting something in the city of Rome would be a nice step for Uncharted to go in, still with like the little mini pockets of open world like we saw in 4 and Lost Legacy, but maybe with a little bit more. And I don't want them to go fully open world, because it puts a strain on the devs to focus on detail. I don't want
them to go open world. I wouldn't go more open world than Lost Legacy, and that's not. There's only like one section of the game is a bit more open. I like the fact that they're quite linear.
Yeah,
I think it keeps the story moving forwards.
Yeah, it does.
Whereas open world games have always run the risk of you getting distracted with side content and the story fizzles out, regardless how good the writing is.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think if it was something similar to the Madagascar bit, but just maybe like a more dense populated area for you to explore, rather than just emptiness.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know what not. I'm sure Naughty Dog have got plans to push on. We'll probably see. We saw it from The Last of Us to Last of Us 2, to be fair, how more open world that game became. So who knows what to do with 3.
It's still quite linear, though.
It is.
It still keeps you moving forwards.
Yeah, they are quite tactful.
That's what I appreciate about them.
It is. So Uncharted 4 Platinum on the horizon then.
Yeah.
And then where do we go after this?
I'm going to play through Lost Legacy. Mm-hmm. Just to round things out, but I have the platinum in that already. Mm-hmm. So it's just to round out my playthrough of the franchise. Still never played Golden Abyss, so Sony, port it, please.
Hey, you can borrow one of my Vitas. I've said that before. If you want just a cheeky weekend to play through. I could borrow
I'm going to rest on my laurels here and go, Sony, port it. Get it on PlayStation, on the home console.
Maybe.
Even if it's via cloud.
But do let us know in the comments below what you guys have been playing out there. We are starting to head into the busy period. So I think before we get into the actual news, Richie, I'll just quickly summarise what you and Rob were talking about last week so the audience has my thoughts on things. Really quickly, last week's summary, Star Wars Outlaws. Yes, it's day one for me. It's pre-ordered. I get to play it, I think, 4 days early with the gold edition. I think someone in our Discord, I think Hjovar possibly in our Discord was saying, or was it Big Lauren? Someone was saying they'd pre-ordered the gold edition as well. You get a couple of days early access. I'm very fortunate that my birthday is like within the same week. So my wife is thankfully getting it for me. It's a nice, easy present of what do you want for your birthday? There's literally an Amazon link. Thank you very much. Also, can I play it a couple of days early because it comes? Yes. You're an adult. You don't have to wait to unwrap it on the actual day. So Star Wars Outlaws, I'm in. I know you two looked at some of the previews. I know Rob was very, very critical of some of the maybe biased conversation around the wording of some things. I don't care. It's Star Wars. It's open world. Our audience already knows how big of a Ubisoft fan I am anyway. The whole collectathon map, open world Ubisoft thing, it works for me within moderation. I think it's been a long time since I played Valhalla. It's been a long time since we had a Far Cry. I never actually ever really started Avatar other than our first look, so I've not played a Ubisoft-esque game in a good while. So the fact that this is Star Wars and it's getting good early previews and it's for my birthday, I'm down. I'm down for that. So yeah, Star Wars Outlaws day one, absolutely. Or day minus 3 or 4, whatever you count it now with. What happens when a game launches across 3 different dates?
I don't know.
It's like T minus 3.
I find it weird getting a game early because the smart money is to wait for a game to have a month or 2 out so they can actually fix the game after launch.
I'm fine with that. Second point, the Astrobot controller. Fuck yes, I'm all in on that one.
Yes,
fuck
you're
yes. Right. So much so they went live to pre-order this morning. If you missed out, guys, if you listen to this on Monday over the weekend, you've already missed out. They're sold out pretty much everywhere. So I don't think they'll actually get here till the 6th of September. So it's a pre-order in the bank. I got mine from PlayStation Direct. I think, disappointingly, Curry's in the UK were doing it for £10 cheaper than everywhere else, which is, I guess, a tactical move on their part, but they sold out everywhere, so they've just cost themselves £10 per unit now. But I guess, again, if you got it from Curry's, good for you. You bargain hunted and you got it. I didn't want to risk that. I just went PlayStation Direct, bang on 10 a.m., got my pre-order in, sorted. And yeah, the control looks great. I don't know if you guys actually touched on it, but the touchpad, the eyes light up within the touchpad.
I didn't touch on that. I didn't realise it did. Yeah. I mean, I straight up said it looks better than the standard DualSense.
It does. But yeah, they light up within it,
which is rare, I think, for a novelty control to look better than, for me, the base ones. I think sometimes it can be a bit too much.
Yeah,
I think the Astrobot one is perfect.
The white on white kind of does it for me. I think you were saying with the sacred symbols being like that very fine blue. Looks really, really tidy. But yeah, absolutely love that one. So that's in the bag pre-order. Do let us know again in the comments or in our Discord if you manage to get yourself one, because I'd imagine these things are going to be either a scalper's dream. Because even me, I'm like, oh, do I open it? Of course I want to open it, because I'm not one of those who just buys things to then sell in 20 years' time packaged. I might keep the packaging to maybe put together neatly again in some weird, sad, futuristic way.
If you ever break glass in case you need money.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an entire shelf behind me that's set up for in case of emergency. But yeah, the controller looks great. I can't wait to get hold of it. And of course, Astrobot's so close as well, Richie. We talk about Outlaws, but Astrobot's 6th of September. That's less than a month away. Yeah. And that game looks hype. Moving on though, the Xbox Blue translucent controller that was announced. Also, fuck yes. But for my brother. Not for myself. Come on, I'm player one. I ain't having that. That's going straight to our Lee.
I get Rob's point with like the knockoff Mad Catz controller, because your parents wouldn't want to pay full price for the second controller. Yeah. But when it's a genuine Xbox controller, fuck, that looks amazing.
Yeah, it does look cool. And back in the day, I was always jealous. I never had a Nintendo 64. I was always jealous of Rob's orange translucent one, because that thing looked fantastic.
Me too, and I had an N64, but I just had the standard grey.
Yeah, the black and grey one. I have looked. I know when I've been looking at, like, I got my PS3, I got my Blue Vita. I've looked on eBay for some, and like the translucent turquoise blue one is probably my choice if I was to go for one. But you're looking at like
that or purple.
Yeah. I'm not so keen on the purple, because when it came to the Game Boy colours, my brother had the translucent purple Game Boy. I had the turquoise blue, which is maybe why I'm more inclined to get the blue N64. It's just like that's my palette that I had. For Nintendo tech. So, but on eBay they're like 150 upwards. So it's like hanging around for a good bundle. Some of them do quite good bundles online.
That's not actually That's not too bad actually for the limited edition ones.
Some of them come with games as well, and the Rumble pack still and stuff. So if you can get a good deal,
the great one's like 70 to 80 quid depending on the condition. So
it's just biting the bullet.
Paying like 100 to 150 for like a special edition one, it's probably worth the difference.
Yeah, I would say so.
I think that's where if you were to buy an N64 and you bought a standard one for 80 quid, and then you saw a translucent blue one come for 130, you'd regret not buying it.
Yeah, just for the sake of it. But the turquoise ones came out a bit later. So there's ice blue one going for 65, but then people have got buy it now in box for 300. So there's probably quite a lot of disparity. Ice blue 140. Ooh, 165 comes with 3 games: Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Well, There's Not Enough. Hey, that looks like a good one. 3 controllers, 6 game bundle. This is where Chris buys an N64 live.
This is where you get the controllers, and the controllers are knackered.
Oh, it comes with a Competition Pro controller, which looks like a Mad Catz one.
But it's where the N64 analog sticks are so terrible at wearing out. I was surprised when I got my Switch one. Yeah, and it's actually quite snappy. Like it springs back to place quite quickly. Oh, it doesn't rattle at all. This is weird.
That is weird. But GoldenEye and Mario Kart 64, not too bad packing games. WrestleMania 2000, Well, There's Not Enough, and FIFA 98. Not bad. 165. But we won't go down the rabbit hole. Chris is not close enough to payday yet, or has any birthday money to spend yet. So, blue controllers, sick as anything. PlayStation Plus, weak again. I already have Star Wars, Skywalker Saga. The other two, don't buy PSVR 2, even with the price cut, folks. Yes, it's £200 off, which would have been great a year ago, but having seen
the list price from out the game,
having seen their support, this thing's sent out to die. I know the PC adapter comes out this week, I think. So if you want to go play Half-Life Alyx on your PC, great. But Sony have done nothing.
There's better options if you go on the PC route.
MetaQuest 3 now. I feel like if you're going to get into VR, MetaQuest 3 is the best way to do it all around. No extra additional things needed. Totally wireless. Meta seemed to be the biggest player in bothering with VR.
You do need a PC though, don't you?
I don't think so. I think you could just use the headset. We'll ask Tom tomorrow. He's got one. Yeah. That's right. We're going out for drinks with Tom as well. And then the final one, layoffs suck. More layoffs in the industry. It just seems to be the trend, doesn't it, for 2024? I know there's a website that keeps track of how many layoffs, and we're already like well past the highest layoffs ever in history. So shout out to all those folks who are looking for a job. I'm sure you'll find one and make great video games once again. But Richie, let's not rest on last week's news, because we've got a whole list of news to get into for this week, because we have a great show lined up. If you could introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka The
news. And of course, the graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka The News, is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes. As I mentioned earlier on the show, you can support us from as little as 99p to get this content early, to get some of our live streams early, to get stickers and badges next to your name in the live chat. And who wouldn't want to do that after we've been doing this for a whole year? And of course, our 5th anniversary is on the horizon. Next month, we celebrate 5 whole years of the channel. So thank you to everyone. Go check out the merch store. There might be some special kit going up soon. Right, Richie, story number 1 of the week. We're back into it. Xbox, Microsoft, they put out a tweet this week, unfortunately, letting us know that Obsidian's RPG is apparently good to go, Avowed, but it's going to be pushed to 2025. And they did that in a tweet announcing the first-party Xbox games with one of those like nice little splash screen logos to do with all the cover art. And I quote from the tweet, "So many games coming. As such, we're moving Avowed to February 18th, 2025 to give players backlogs some breathing room. Stay tuned for more of our games across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda and Xbox Game Studios at Gamescom, including our own August 23rd live stream for a look at Avowed." So, Richie, Avowed has been punted out of this year. It's now back into February of next year. Where do you sit on this one? I know you were the most interested out of the three of us on Avowed. How are you feeling?
My interest is cooled off because it just feels like one of the games I just forget exists. I appreciate the honesty from Xbox. They're just saying it straight up, saying because there's so many games coming, that's why we're moving it.
Do we think that's the reason, or do you think that's an easy cover story to paint over the cracks a little bit?
I think it's the reason, because the other side of the same coin is, to me, it sounds like they don't have enough faith in it to hold its own against the games that are coming. That might be a bit of a cynical take, but if you're like, we've got something truly special here, why would you move out of other people's way?
Yeah, the Verge have an article on this story as well, and they actually cite Stalker 2 being delayed earlier on in the year back into November. Seems like the biggest potential factor for wanting to motivate Microsoft into moving Avowed, so you don't have that clash of two games coming out exclusive.
That makes a bit more sense, to get out the way of their own game.
Yeah, and then in a way, if they don't have enough faith in Avowed, it tells me they might have a lot more faith in Stalker 2. If they're happy to send that out to the dogs back in November, the heat of the season. Do you think Stalker 2 would do better than Avowed, sales-wise? Like, I'd put, even though Stalker 2's I guess more established with it being a sequel, I'd say out of the two of them, they probably have about an equal chance of like gathering traction.
I don't think it's either of them that's the issue. I think they're looking at things like Star Wars coming out. I think they might even be looking at Zelda a bit. And then you've got things like Assassin's Creed coming out in a bit later. There's stuff happening. We've got about to hit the point of the year where it really ramps up, and like the big games coming out, and it's starting to get looking a bit crowded. And things like, we don't have a release date for Indiana Jones, but it's still confirmed to be 2024.
Got to be Gamescom, right? They've got to draw. I don't think they could push Indiana Jones out this year after this. I think Avowed is the one that's taken the fall. The rumor is that Indiana Jones is December, but I could see them going a bit earlier than December. Maybe the last week of November. Because you don't want it to clash too much with Christmas and families going out to have meals and Christmas movies and stuff. And
you want November, really, because you want it out before people finish the Christmas shopping.
Mm-hmm. Do we think there's a chance they're holding Indiana Jones because it's going multi-platform? Like, we haven't really discussed that. Like, is there a chance they're sitting on the day as late as possible to get the marketing that it's an Xbox exclusive out there in the wild? Because, again, there's still this little voice in my head that's saying, why would Marvel not say to Xbox, like, this needs to go multi-platform because we get no money from Game Pass virtually. So the Indiana Jones IP, how much money is it making Disney? Yes, they get the 30% cut like they do with Spider-Man from Insomniac. You know what I mean? It feels like if it's going in Game Pass, Disney get no upfront cash from this game going on Xbox. And either Microsoft will give them a big bag of cash, or the fact that it's it just seems weird to me that we're in August now. This game comes out in the next three odd months, and we don't know the date, which is like, are they just going to Gamescom, boom, and it's also coming to PlayStation and PC? I
don't think that's a smart move from Xbox, because then it further waters down Xbox.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
I think they're better off at least holding it a year. I think the smaller titles or multiplayer titles, get them straight onto everything, because that's your best chance of surviving. You look at Helldivers from PlayStation, getting it on PC is probably one of the big success stories of that game. Mm-hmm. Single player titles, I think you can, if it's good enough, you can be brave and just hold it to yourself and wait and make other platforms wait for it. Because then you can double dip, really.
Yeah.
Because if you only have a PlayStation and this game's come out with Indiana Jones is getting great rave reviews, then a year later go, now it's coming to PlayStation. When the sales on Xbox have already tailed off, you're getting that spike again.
Yeah.
Keeps the game relevant.
There's something they're not telling us, isn't there? The fact that the date's being held for so long.
They might have not been ready to announce it. I think it has to be a Gamescom, though.
Yeah. Oh, undoubtedly.
Or push it.
Undoubtedly.
And the fact that in this this tweet, they're still confirming 2024. It's got to be a Gamescom.
Yeah, it's
unless they do something themselves in September.
Yeah. In terms of Avowed, then, I actually think personally, February is probably a better time for it.
Yeah.
It just gives the devs more time to polish. I think it gives them more time to work on the feedback they possibly got from all of the showcases. People saying like the combat doesn't look like it's hitting hard enough. Some of the NPCs look a bit bland. Some of the options, and I think as much as the world looks beautiful, I think people are still waiting for like what is there to get your teeth sunk into. And I think we trust Obsidian. The game looks gorgeous. So, like, just give us that bit more. And I think those extra few months will really pay off when it comes to just addressing some of the concerns, maybe. They've essentially got another half a year.
And they can really start ramping up the hype machine for it after Christmas. Let Christmas come and go. Then really push it. Like, because I think that's what the game needs more than anything. It really needs just a good push. Because although every time I see it, I get more interest in it, then my interest falls away and I forget about it. And I go back to my default, goes, this looks like Skyrim with the saturation turned up.
Yeah. Skyrim,
it needs to somehow break that fort.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still in that kind of no interest zone where if it did come out this year, the reality is I've got so much on my list with Assassin's Creed, Astro, Outlaws, and anything in between, probably a bit of Call of Duty and Indiana Jones. If this came out in October, November, other than like maybe a first look or a taster, it's doing nothing for me. And I know I'm not the guy for this necessarily, but if it's on Game Pass, I'm going to check it out, and I need it to get its teeth into me, because I play some weird different games, like Banish's Ghost of New Eden. I don't know anyone else who played that, so it's not like I'm adverse to playing something that isn't like front and center mainstream popular, but it needs to do something enough, and the fantasy genre is right up my alley as well, so it's kind of ticking boxes, but not the ones to grab my attention. So kind of like you, I'm sat waiting going, show me Obsidian, show me why. And I think if it does come out in February, that gives it a much bigger chance of getting my interest when it's a quieter season. But it does push it out of this year's Game of the Year conversation as well.
It does, but pushes it into next year's.
It does. The actual lineup for Xbox now, if it's starting the year with Avowed, and then we head into what's the midnight one? I can't remember. South of Midnight?
South of Midnight.
That looks fantastic. Yeah. That's got my attention. And then Doom the Dark Ages. And then Fable. So like that's a hell of a lineup. But then we keep saying that this is about Xbox, don't we? It's like, it's always next year. It's always next year.
It is. And when they get the games, they always feel like they don't haven't evolved the genre in a long time. They feel like always very competent exponents of the whatever genre they're covering, but never elevate it.
Yeah. But
so that's why I just not getting excited by it. It's the same way I think with Ubisoft. I don't get excited for Ubisoft games. They just feel distinctly 8 out of 10.
Yeah, but it is again. It's
good. I'd enjoy them, but there's 9 over there. There's 10 over there.
That's the trick. But I mean, Xbox do have a fantastic lineup. You've got between now and when Avowed was originally going to come out, you've got World of Warcraft, you've got Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, retold, Ara, History Untold, Diablo DLC, Black Ops 6, which is going to be huge for them. Flight Sim 24, Indiana Jones, you've got the Starfield Shattered Space expansion, Towerborn, whatever the hell that comes out this year, because that's still got a 2024. So then actually, it's so packed on a first-party front, I think moving it's probably the best thing for everyone involved, quite frankly. And let's face it, it's on Game Pass. It's not like you're going, oh, damn, I had my £70 lined up for it. No, take your time.
With the Game Pass model, you don't want all your big hitters right next to each other. You want to spread them out across the air to keep that. Yeah, keep their monthly subs.
Absolutely. And now Microsoft have a look at the metrics. They might be tracking this and going like, you know what, Call of Duty is going to be so big for us this fall. Let's just move Avowed. Like we just don't know.
What can we move? Avowed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But moving on, Richie, we got a nice little update from Remedy Games this past week. They've released their latest half-year financial report detailing progress on some of the most anticipated titles. Now Max Payne's Fest DLC is out. We know there's a second... Not Max Payne, sorry, Alan Wake.
Alan Wake.
They just love naming their games after people. That's the problem. We know Control is deep in the works, and there's a Max Payne 1 and 2 remake on the works in partnership with Rockstar. They've announced in the half-year financial reports that Max Payne 1 and 2 remake have been confirmed to enter full production, and Control 2 is now in a playable form, which has me tickle interest. So I thought, we know that's some of the main ones. We know the Shuttered one of the things that was in, I think it was in line with one of the Chinese companies. Project Kestrel, which was...
Yeah, which one was that? It was the co-op multiplayer game.
Vivendi was in with Vivendi. or
Tencent.
Tencent. I knew it was one of the Chinese conglomerates. The Control spin-off Condor is still in the works as well. So they've still got a couple of plates spinning. Obviously, Control came out in 2019. So actually, next year, 2025, they've had a whole half decade since Control 1. I'm guessing
they've made Alan Wake 2 in between?
They have. I think maybe... It depends how big the studio is and how many teams have split off into doing these things. The Max Payne 1 and 2 remake, probably not top of their focus points because they are just remakes. But you want to put a rough date on Control 2? If you were to guess?
At the earliest, I think end of next year, potentially into 2026. I think... Well, I feel like they're a one-team studio. With Max Payne 1 and 2, I think they may have started a second team to do remakes. So they're have two main projects on the go. But there again, they have things like Project Kestrel. I know it was cancelled, but there would have been a team working on that. Condor, so there's probably a third team.
Yeah. I guess the interesting and different way to look at this with Remedy is because their worlds are interconnected. So they're using the same assets and they use their own proprietary engine, the Northlight engine. So when they're making these games, there is actually something to be said about a lot of Alan Wake. The Alan Wake DLC had Jesse from Control in it. And like the whole Federal Bureau is interwoven throughout. I think a lot of the physics and stuff just mirror across all of their games, and the reason that doesn't really bother me is because they're in the same universe, so it's not like I'm looking at these games going, oh, they look too similar. They are. Yeah. They're in the same world, so I think that could maybe allow them to cut corners a little bit with production.
I wouldn't say cut corners, but streamline production.
Yeah, that's a better word, yeah.
So rather than having one team working on this game, one team working on that game, one team working on that game, you might go, this is our asset generation team, and here's a list of the jobs you have to do. We need to create a model for Jesse. You need to create a new model for Alan Wake. You need to create a new model for Max Payne, that kind of thing. And then you got your narrative team. You got your programming teams.
Yeah.
And that might be the way their workflow works. Rather than splitting the studio into different teams working on different games. Every team is working on every game.
But I'm excited. I love Remedy. They're for me they're a PlayStation studio in all but name of like being actually owned by Sony.
It does feel like the next pair. If the video game industry wasn't going through this period of consolidation after the massive purchasing boom, I think Sony would have been buying them.
Yeah, after Control, I was like, yes, get on these guys. Max Payne, I'm intrigued by a little bit. I did have Max Payne 1 or maybe 2. I got it for my birthday when I was like 15 or something. I played it for like 6 hours straight, and then it never saved. And I remember going back to the next day, and it was like, start a new game. And I was like, no. And then I never got fully back into it. Because like I feel like, when there's just so much energy had just been lost in the whim of a memory card, it was like, shit. But,
yeah, I'm not sure about Max Payne. I think if it wasn't Remedy and the goodwill they made since Control and Alan Wake 2, I don't think anyone would care.
It's Rockstar as well, so I feel like the GTA crowd have a little bit of a soft spot for Max Payne, just because it's in cohesion with Rockstar. But we'll have to see as it creeps up. It is a remake, so it's fairly cost effective. But yeah, give me that Control sequel and the final Alan Wake pretty quickly, Richie, because it's nice to see it all being connected. And as you said about PlayStation acquiring them, if we weren't going through some things, yeah, I would have thought that. Speaking of a studio, though, I did think they would have acquired it once upon a time. Story number 3, the Order 1886 developers Ready at Dawn have been closed by Meta after a short stint making VR titles for the previously Facebook studio. They were only purchased back in 2020 to help with the MetaQuest headsets. But unfortunately, they are no more. And with immediate effect, PlayStation fans in particular, might remember them for PSP's God of War entry, Chains of Olympus, which I know a lot of people have huge fond memories for, and Ghosts of Sparta. They also made the handheld spin-off of Jak and Daxter, which I'm currently playing. Daxter, ironically, just been ported to PS5 with the PlayStation catalog library. They also made they ported Okami to the Wii U, but I think we all know them predominantly for the Order 1886.
Yeah.
And they've gone, Richie. And this is just another one of those signs where in another world we would have got a sequel to The Order. Like you and me have waxed lyrical more than enough now about why this game, a sequel, could have done so well because the premise, the world.
It's such a good game. Its Metascore is only like 63, but I think that was entirely because the length of the game was too short and had no replayability, which I understand why people will be upset by that. But the game is actually so good. If you take the finance out of it and just play the game for what it is, it's an amazing game. It's an amazing IP that really deserves a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the Order hit, our PlayStation hoped it would. Because to be fair, the game's about as long as like Uncharted 3. It's
a bit shorter. I didn't finish Uncharted 3 in a weekend.
I did.
Oh well.
It's like Uncharted 3 is like, well, bear in mind you can literally need to finish Uncharted 4 in 6 hours.
That's true.
It's a bit shorter than you want for a AAA experience, but the polish is there.
Do you think because The Order's more cutscene than game, that 6 hours feels a little bit more truncated? If you look at actual gameplay, it might be closer to 4.5. Because it is very Kojima with cutscene heavy, so which I don't mind in games. Like Kojima gets away with it.
But Kojima's games are longer.
Well, yeah, that's the counterbalance, isn't it? Is are you getting that perceived value for money? But I think you're right.
It really is a shame because I think that they had something special, and with The Order 1886, it might not have been the perfect execution, but for me, it's a very strong proof of concept of what they could do.
The foundations are there.
If they had more time and a bigger budget, they could make a story to that level longer. Expand on the gameplay, make it a bit more intricate, have more different weapons, more different enemy varieties. Just make that game which is bigger and for a sequel. And then you got yourself a franchise that could easily spin off into movies, into TV shows, especially now. Mm-hmm. And they probably would have been bought by Sony.
Yeah.
Instead, they got bought to make VR games, which I have nothing against VR apart from the additional cost of the hardware. Which makes it just not viable for me personally.
And if we're all honest with ourselves, it's also a massive step down from making AAA big games. VR, there is just sort of that reality where VR's just it'll never be as popular as mainstream console gaming. It's always a supplement to it. But in regards to The Order, it could have done such an Assassin's Creed 1 to 2, like jump forward. Everything you've described there, I think our audience know by now. Go and watch our full playthrough. We actually put the full playthrough up in one complete video package this week to commemorate Ready at Dawn being closed down. But for everything,
we actually had that edited a few weeks ago.
Ironically ready to go, like we knew the news. But it's one of them where it's like I do hope, and part of me still believes that Sony own the IP. And if Ready at Dawn have gone, maybe at least try and buy it back from Meta and be like, look, you guys aren't going to make a VR game with this, so.
But I think Sony probably already passed on it.
But it depends if they own it or not. Like, they own Bloodborne. So, they're just sitting, waiting. And I think, could you imagine the pop? I think it would get such a big pop at an event like Game Awards or something, or Gamescom, where the final video is just the Order comes back up and you see Sir Galahad again. And everyone's just like, let's go. It's one more adventure.
Yeah.
Modern sensibilities. Hindsight is a fantastic thing. New studio.
It's become a cult classic game. So it would get the crowd going again.
And it's been long enough. Been 10 years nearly. And the little nugget that I'm going to hold on to is the Order was made with Sony support studio, Santa Monica.
Okay.
Cory Barlog is done with God of War. He's working on a new project at Santa Monica. It's probably not going to be The Order, but imagine if they were
IP, isn't it,
yeah. But imagine if they had just a few people who did help out with Ready at Dawn and were like, Sony, have you got the IP in the tank? Yes. We've got a team here who are wrapping up on God of War. Cory's new game's almost finished. What's next? And just to see the groundswell from Ready at Dawn being shut down, they maybe pick up a few devs who've just been made redundant. I don't know. I'm holding out hope.
It's going to be Insomniac. They do everything else.
Yeah, that's right. Just give it to Insomniac. Throw Spider-Man in it, why don't you? But yes, Order 86. But it is a shame. And it's just one of them things where it's like, God damn it, Meta. Why would you buy them to close them down less than 3 years later? What a waste of investment.
Sometimes you just realise you don't live in the best timeline.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder I don't know what they were working on. Maybe just Meta were like everyone else is cutting costs. And unfortunately, if they're not working on something that Meta's looking at, this is profitable, or maybe they're very early in development, they're easier to close than someone who's years into development on a game.
Yeah, agreed. In a world, we live in the timeline where we got a Knack 2, but not an Order 886 sequel. So, RIP, Ready at Dawn. He made some great games, mostly for PlayStation, ironically. But
they need some elixir.
Yeah, they do. They need some elixir to bring them back. But Mark Zuckerberg and Meta done you over there, unfortunately. Moving on to our next story of the week. People who aren't being done over is Sony. PlayStation 5 officially reaches its 60 million units sold milestone with an official number of 61.7 million consoles sold, with 2.4 million particularly purchased in Q1 of this year. As part of the latest financial report, PlayStation announced that they did see a decrease of 900 units when stacked up against the same period last year. However, they did make huge gains in other sectors, like an increase in the overall operating income. They can put this down to big titles that were released last year as opposed to this year, where they've more likely leaned on second-party deals and third-party deals. But, Richie, overall, PlayStation 5 swimming along pretty decently still.
They are, I still kind of feel the PS5 doesn't have any like generational defining games from first-party studios yet.
No, and a lot of them were
PS4 had loads. I just can't think of anything PS5 is PS5 specific from a Sony first party that goes, that is why you should buy the PS5.
I mean, yeah, Ragnarok was PS4 as well. Horizon Forbidden West was PS4 as well. Miles Morales was PS4 as well. So
Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2, was that? Yeah, that was only PS5, wasn't it? So it's more of the same at the same time, though, isn't it? So it wasn't anything groundbreaking to say, like, whoa, PS5. Like, that would be in
the list, but it can't be the list.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my PS5 because it is my PS4, just better.
Yeah.
But that's how it still just feels.
It's PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
Pro.
Yeah.
How many Pros can you add? How many layers could you stack that PS4 Pro till you get a PS5? Probably quite a lot because it's a big mother, this one.
Give me Ghost of Tsushima too.
I think
at least just announce it. Just announce it, guys.
Yeah, it's been a while. But Sony financial is doing quite well. Interesting side note to it all, though, is the Nintendo Switch in its 7th year wasn't far behind. I can't remember the exact number, but I was reading an article saying that I'm pretty sure the Nintendo Switch still sold in like the same number, only like 1-point-something million less than the PS5.
Yeah.
Which is just, the Switch is just like insane. But they've had quite a couple of big releases, really, in like first party in comparison, whereas PlayStation's had a quiet year.
They're determined not to sunset that thing, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. But I think next year will be the big one. You know what the weird thing is? Next year's biggest system seller for PlayStation in particular is going to be GTA, because they've got the partnership, they've got the marketing deal with Rockstar. I think everyone out there who's a casual who's going, GTA 6 comes out next summer, I think they're getting on a PS5. They've just got that, like, obviously GTA started on PlayStation with the GTA 3.
Yeah.
So I think they've got that history, that legacy. Rockstar are happy to work with them. You want to play GTA 6? I think all of our friends who don't have a PS5 or an Xbox X or S are probably going to go out and get a PS5.
It's that huge player install base who are just playing GTA day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
GTA 5 day in, day out. When GTA 6 comes, it's time for them to pick a new console, because a lot of them might be still playing on PS4 or Xbox Series or Xbox One. There might be a case of, it's time to pick a new console, and the obvious answer is, as much as I do love my Xbox, the obvious answer at the moment is still PlayStation, for the reasons that we kind of discussed when we're talking about Avowed. It just needs, I think, of the two, one feels like a stronger choice.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a casual as well, you probably don't care for Game Pass because you don't play regularly enough to need a subscription.
Yeah, but you probably don't. A lot of people get subscription fatigue. So if you're not asked about playing any other games other than the specific games you want to play, it's just another thing that takes money out of your bank.
Yeah. And I think the casual audience, if you're there for Call of Duty, FIFA, GTA, they seem to have the right I feel like EA Sports FC is closely marketed with PlayStation as well, with the Champions League being sponsored by Sony.
Yeah.
They just have a lot of synergy in the right areas. And the only reason Microsoft have Call of Duty, remember, this year is because they bought it. Call of Duty's marketing for the last generation has been PlayStation as well. They've done the right deals in the right places. And I think hardware sales for PS5 are going to skyrocket next summer when GTA comes out. And then obviously they're going to supplement that with PlayStation First Party, because we've got to have something on the horizon. We've been saying it all the time, but this year with the Final Fantasies and the Rise of the Ronins coming out and stuff, it's been great. They've done okay, but they're not hitting like the true First Parties do.
Yeah, I think the more time goes on, the more I'm convinced where with Sony deciding to go double down on games as a service, then pivoting away from that. We're in a weird lag phase for them, where as a lot of the studios are changing the production, they've cancelled a lot of games, so them games aren't coming out. So the single player stuff is probably being moved forward, but still might be a few years out. I think next year might be quite barren as well.
Yeah, I think the start of the year definitely could be. I think
but then I think 2026 onwards, you might really start seeing them get back into gear, into the swing of things.
Yeah, I mean they have to, right? That's the great thing, is at some point.
Yeah, the swing of things with Wolverine.
Yeah, or Ghosts 2.
Ghosts 2, yeah.
Or Last of Us 3.
Naughty Dog next year will probably be ready to announce whatever they're working on.
Mm-hmm. A Blue Point.
Blue Point at some point.
Come on, Blue Point.
We'll make a game.
Oh, they have to be. But
you mentioned Sony Santa Monica as well.
Yeah,
next year they might be ready to announce something.
Yeah, I mean we know Corey's split off well before Ragnarok into doing his own thing, so he's got to be 3+ years in development after God of War 2018. So. And he knows his shit, so it's such an interesting time heading into it. But maybe if Sony were wary about the profits dipping this year, they should have done a SEGA and acquire Rovio, the makers of Angry Bird. We covered it many moons back on this show, but Sega's it's very much just financial reports week, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Sega's acquisition of Angry Bird's maker Rovio has actually helped boost the company's video game profits by 181% year on year. So, yes, they dropped a good chunk of cash as they acquired them for $625 million last August, but compare year on year, that's quite a favourable jump, Richie. Sega not really had much out, I think. If you're looking at the list, they've got Sonic Generations X, and that's about it. Have they had a Total War game out?
Maybe.
Rob was on about Total War last week, right? That's what he's been playing.
Yeah, he's Warhammer
series, yeah. I thought he was going to say Space Marine then. Actually, when he was discussing it last week, because I don't know if you've seen the Space Marine hype, but the previews for it, everyone's been raving about it. It's basically saying it's Gears of War. Looks gorgeous, plays gorgeous. 3-player co-op. I actually looked last night to see if there was a co-op, like a friend pass. So, like, if I buy it, can I give you a code and maybe Rob a code or someone in our audience and play it together? But it doesn't seem that way. So, I'll probably play it myself on single-player mode. But I'm hyped for that. But, yeah, Sega... not really got much going on, so thankfully the Angry Birds are helping them out. 181% year on year is showing that it was a worthwhile investment, and if it keeps track, they'll pay off that investment pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, Angry Birds is one of them franchises because I don't really play mobile games. I forget how strong the IP remains. I know how prominent it was when it first came out, but that was in 2009. You know, there's basically been an Angry Birds release every single year since 2009.
I believe that. I remember the Star Wars spin-offs and all the other ones.
Yeah, there was 2018 didn't have a release. And there was another one. 2020 didn't have an Angry Birds release. Every other year since the first game came out has had an Angry Birds release. This year hasn't, though. Just on Nick Rumble.
Before microtransactions, Angry Birds. It's the same with Plants vs. Zombies and everything else. Back when you paid a game for like $1.99, you had the full game.
And there's a third feature film in development.
There is. As is the Sonic 3. So I think Sega have got their profits coming in elsewhere from this year. They do have Metaphor ReFantazio in October. and Football Manager, which usually makes the money. Football Manager is like Sega's FIFA, isn't it? Put it out. Football nerds will play it, and it will make you money guaranteed.
Yeah, it'll probably won't make you more money any or less money year on year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine it's roughly the same because they're probably catering for pretty much I'd imagine this is a fairly saturated market because they're kind of the only real football management sim of any real note in the game. But
no one else is doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not? Why not? But it's nice to see Sega doing good. Right then, moving on. Let's move away to some video game news specific to actual video games rather than just companies and financials, because this is not just a financial podcast. Star Wars Outlaws revealed their post-launch roadmap. I know you and Rob touched on the game's previews last week. We now know as launch creeps ever closer on August 27th, if you have the Gold Edition, like me. You'll be getting exclusive missions called Jabba's Gambit, a character pack, which is I don't give a shit about. Story Pack 1 is called Outlaws Wildcard, with 2 cosmetic bundles, don't really care about as well. And Story Pack 2 is called The Pirate's Fortune. That's going to come with the Season Pass. As someone who has the Gold Edition, you get that all included, which is why I get the Gold Edition, because it just means I've got it all there. They did confirm that this content would be coming eventually to everyone. The Jabba's Gambit, I know people were a bit iffy about exclusive missions being behind a paywall, especially with big characters like Jabba the Hutt from the world, but they did confirm that everyone will get it eventually. It's just exclusive for Gold Editions and super pre-order editions, but we don't really know much about it other than the names Wildcard and A Pirate's Fortune. Players are going to meet Jabba the Hutt in the main game. Season Pass get an additional quest. Just as Kay, who's the main character, is putting together her crew for a big heist, she receives a job from Jabba himself. ND5, who I presume is your robot counterpart in the game, owes Hutt a debt from years ago, and Jabba's came to collect. Wildcard coming in autumn this year. Kay is hired to infiltrate a high-stakes Sabacc tournament, but as she crosses paths with notorious Lando Calrissian, she soon learns that another game is being played. Dun dun dun. And then A Pirate's Fortune coming spring next year is the Trailblazer's reputation precedes Kay. Again, a lot of stuff, probably people have no clue. I don't know what this is yet. But they run into a veteran pirate, Hondo Onaka, who people might remember from the Clone Wars series. If you've been on the Star Wars rides at Disney World, he's the pirate guy who talks there. That's about it. He wants to settle an old score with a ruthless gang of pirates. Richie, this is probably way too much Star Wars nerdy shit for our audience out there, but Ubisoft just given an insight. Where you sitting on the game still? I know you said with Rob last week you're waiting for that one. You're waiting for reviews, basically.
I'm interested. If the reviews are good, it's a day one purchase. It's not a pre-order. I don't think I'd ever bother pre-ordering a Ubisoft game. I just don't, especially after watching my girlfriend play Assassin's Creed 3 remaster and it being such a mess.
Oh yeah, you went to town on that one.
Yeah, it was garbage.
What was so bad about it? Because I heard you talking about it, and I think I got the platinum for that one, and I don't remember it being that bad in any way. The games are a joke. Like the whole trying to get to the village people and get them to do the shit at a specific time is a fucking joke. And the game you play in the shed, like the chess game or something.
The traversal was just so bad. Like it's, I don't really.
Through the trees.
It's full. Just running down the street, it was just full. It was full of bugs. Like this stuff. Like again, I mentioned like the cycle when you're in your village. That's stuff that they could have fixed, but they didn't. There was bugs that were well reported in the original that were still in the remaster. There was a weird HDR glitch, so every time she opened up the game, she had to go into PlayStation settings, turn off HDR, go back in the game, come back out, turn on HDR. Otherwise, it'd just be washed out and grey. It crashed a few times while she was playing. This is stuff for remaster. I just think is inexcusable.
That sounds so much worse than I could possibly. Remember.
It was terrible. It was utterly terrible. I don't know how she persevered and got the platinum because I would have rage quit long before it.
Has she done the game in game is called 9 Man Morris?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to kill myself trying to get that. It was the last trophy I think I had to do between trying to meet the specific village people at doing specific things, and all I was doing was quick traveling, save it, close the game down, load about, and just hope that your time would, I think you complained about day and night cycles not being a thing, so you just kind of have to wing it and hope.
They are, but your villages aren't tied to them, so they're just do random shit.
They're just not there.
But that's why I said that's an easy upgrade they could have done, because that was something that was complained about massively when this Uncharted 3 originally came out. So in the remaster, you think that what we'll do is Assassin's Creed 3.
Naughty Dog ain't gonna fix it.
My complaints were like, you'd think that you'd take the stuff that people were complaining about in the original, and fix it for the remaster.
Nah, it's too much
But it
work.
seemed like they introduced more bugs. So I don't know what they did, and
half-assed.
I always feel like Ubisoft games are just good, but never quite great.
Remember,
And there's nothing I've really seen about Star Wars Outlaws that looks great. It looks good.
Remember, Richie, Ubisoft, good games, bad decisions, as we said. Well, if you're
I'm still waiting for Ubisoft Plus to come to PlayStation.
I keep forgetting that's not a thing.
Yeah, it's
like
not.
They announced it so long ago, and it's just not materialized. It's kind of crazy. If you're not into Outlaws, then you could go back to Jedi Survivor. And if you wanted to do so, because Jedi Survivor got a bit of shit for choppiness and frame rate at launch as well. I never really experienced any problems, except for when I went near water. But maybe I just overlook these little things. I don't really focus in on them as much. But in terms of Jedi Survivor, it's getting a release on last gen. A little over a year after confirming the last gen release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, EA announced the action-adventure sequel is going to launch on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 this September 17th. So take the reins of Cal Kestis again on poorer hardware. If you still have your PS4, your Xbox One, dust it off and go play one of last year's best video games on lesser hardware. I don't know why you would. If you were that desperate to play Jedi Survivor, you think you would just scrape together and get your next console and then go forward with it. I mean, yeah, but like, it just seems so odd, so late after the fact, right? If you can't hit it, if you can't get it out at launch, what are they really going to do? I guess there's a lot of PlayStation 4s in the wild still, right? 140 million plus. But do you think this is going to really move the needle that much? Like, I'd like to think the cost of investment maybe wasn't that much to downgrade it to. If it came to Switch as well as them two, I could maybe see it. Be like, oh shit, if they're getting it on the Switch, then you'll probably do a couple of numbers there. But
it depends. Is the Switch 2 comparable to the PS4 in terms of its performance? It might be a speculative thing, because we don't have the full information, because we don't know what the Switch 2 is looking like, or whatever it's going to be. And as I said, there's a lot of PS4s in the wild. But if it was a relatively inexpensive thing to get it across, it might have just been a case of it's worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for putting. I mean, to be fair, we can't critique
games everywhere.
Yeah, we can critique EA for this when we've just commended Sony, I guess, for putting God of War Ragnarok and stuff on PS4 as well as PS5. Although it does feel like it held them back a little bit in a weird roundabout way. I guess doing this after the fact is like, no, we committed to next gen first. And then we set a little small team aside to basically degrade the game to get it to run on last gen, which is always an easier job going back over.
Imagine that. It's like, all right, well, welcome to EA. Your job is to take this beloved game, and make it worse.
Yeah, make it worse. Slow the frame rate down, lower the graphics and textures. We need to get on this. But yeah, it's there. I loved it. It's coming out for $44.99 or $50 or your local currency, respectively.
Not too bad.
I guess it's a cheaper price as well. Additionally, EA also say the PC version, which Digital Foundry called the worst PC port of 2024, will be receiving updates in the coming week and promises enhancements to the game's technical performance, controls, and more. I think it's a little bit too late if the game's been out for a year now. I think PC is where most people have the problems, whereas again on PS5, didn't have an issue. I got the platinum, so I played the game more than enough. Hoo-ha.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you need to fix quickly.
Yeah. One thing we won't have a problem that doesn't need fixing quickly, Richie, is a game that's been around for so long. We're getting another rebundle. Following sightings of the new Definitive Edition over the last couple of days, a Doom 1 and 2 bundle has showed up on Steam, and now it's also cropped up on other marketplaces such as PlayStation, PS4, PS5, and the Microsoft Store as well. It's going to come in at around £8 or $10. And as early reports confirmed, the game's going to come with a bunch of extras such as DLC, a new story campaign, and some mod content as well. So we love Doom here.
We do.
So why not go check out Doom 1 and 2? I think... It just scared the shit out of myself. Anyone who's watching on video, I've been playing YouTube trailers the whole show. This is the first video I've played in an article, so like an embedded video.
Oh, I wasn't muted.
It wasn't muted, but more so, what type of music does Doom usually lean into?
Oh, full on like metal.
Yeah, just absolutely made my heart skip a beat there. So if anyone wants to rewind the video 10 seconds and watch me just absolutely shit a brick when I click play on this trailer. Whew, okay, Doom 1 and 2. Richie, we've played these, right? I think I got it on Stadia initially when it launched, probably one of the previous times, and then I played it I think when I got my Razer Kishi and I wanted to test out xCloud. It ran great. I think I played about half of it.
I mean, I should hope so.
Yeah, Doom's one for the ages.
It was like 1995 or something, wasn't it? The first game came out.
Yeah, but I think the game was like 99p or something. But it's a rebundle. But what I do love about Bethesda and Machine Games is just embracing the mods. Like, this bundle is coming with some of the best like new map packs that have been made by creators, new death levels, new campaign. I think in our Discord chat, I think Al Davis Music was talking about like GoldenEye stuff being in it somewhere. And it's out now, so if you're a fan of shooters and looking back at some nostalgia, you can't really get better than Doom.
It's not just mod stuff. Machine Games have actually put in a new at least one new episode. A game from 1993 has just been re-released with new content.
Well, you love to see it, right?
Doom might be the most ported game of all time. It's got to be up there.
Quite possibly. I mean, Tetris will give it a run for its money.
Because, I mean, Doom's the game that people always joke on. I got Doom working on my calculator.
Yeah. Got Skyrim running on my fridge.
Yeah. I got Doom working on my abacus.
Doom working on my anal thermometer. With the little LED screen. I've seen that one. But while we wait...
expecting that.
While we wait for Doom the Dark Ages, which I'm getting more hype for Doom the Dark Ages, the longer it kind of sits.
Have you played any of the new games?
Yeah, we played 2016 now, I want to say. The first like kind of like recent reboot. And then I think I played Doom Eternal when it came to Game Pass. I did one of them on stream. Really, really enjoyed it. Like just the fast frenetic thing. But I think Dark Ages just looks cool. Like there's something about that, like high fantasy and flying a dragon, which just makes me get. And I think because it is part of Game Pass, I'm going to get it anyway. So like I might as well get excited because it's free, right? It's free.
Yeah.
Although by the time it comes out, you and me will have had to have made a decision on our Xbox All Access. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. Moving away from Doom 1 and 2 to something a little bit more quieter and calmer. Stray is finally due to release on Nintendo Switch this November. Annapenna's delightful little kitty cat game releases on the 19th of November on the Nintendo Switch, which I think is a perfect home for this little kitty cat. And Richie, you actually mentioned it earlier in the show, but we played Stray on the channel as part of a race.
We've actually played it twice on stream. You played once yourself, and then we did the speedrun trophy as a race.
We did, and you won. Spoilers.
I did.
But I thoroughly enjoyed Stray. I think it's one of my...
Me too.
Like, just indie darlings. Like, I think of that and maybe Kena Bridge of Spirits. Where
yeah,
just
they're
like
both from the same era.
Just the visuals were just stunning for, like, an unknown studio. It was something different, playing as a cat. Like, I can't believe there's not more games out there where you play as animals. Like, it feels like such an untapped thing.
The world building in that game is so good as well. It feels like an actual lived-in world that you explore, you're passing through, but it feels bigger than it is.
Yeah, I think there was something to be enjoyed about it being a cat.
Yeah,
there was no real combat.
No,
so
just
you
the
had
novelty
to play
of it,
more tactically, didn't you? Like avoid. It was very much a stealth game in a lot of ways. But just the way they got like the feel, like climbing in the windows and shimmying along ledges and stuff there was just something fun and Assassin's Creedy about the parkour that actually just made it really enjoyable just to run around.
My only question mark of this is how well will it perform on Switch?
I mean, it was out on PS4 and Xbox One, so again,
if Switch is significantly worse in terms of the power behind it.
But it wasn't really pushing. It wasn't really pushing those consoles either. So.
I think it was probably pushing them more than you realise. It's a very pretty game.
It is. But then if you think, just dim the neon lights down a little bit, reduce the kitty cat textures, take a few meows out.
Drop it down to 720p.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But I think it makes good for Switch because, again, just think of like a cute cat game. It's right for that audience.
Yeah, if you can get it at stable 30 frames per second, I think that's good enough for Stray.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to our final few stories of the week. Castlevania is back. That's right. Konami have revitalized Castlevania. No, they haven't. They've done typical Konami stuff. They've last year they did it with Dead Cells, then they did it with V Rising, and now Castlevania is going to show up in Dead by Daylight, which it is a great get. Like, we haven't played Dead by Daylight for a good two plus year maybe. Really enjoyed it every time we've played it with our audience on stream. I love the anime Castlevania series. I have a soft spot for the old Castlevania games, although I was never really good at them. I never really got that far into them. But I think we've theorized a few times on this show, Castlevania is ripe for like almost like a Dark Souls Bloodborne 3D remake. Like, give me Simon Belmont, go fight Dracula, give me Alucard, give me that dirty grisly world we saw in the Netflix series.
What happens if you make a Dark Souls Metroidvania style game with a gothic horror element to it?
I mean, Castlevania, like, we get Metroidvania from Castlevania.
So that's why I'm agreeing with you. It's like, well, you take the elements of a Metroidvania, with like the backtracking and exploring as you unlock new powers, you have to remember your way around. Go, oh, I've got the power. Oh, that door that I couldn't get through earlier, I can go back and do that now. But then you have it kind of with the kind of combat of a Soulsborne game.
Yeah.
I think that's what modern Castlevania needs to be.
I mean, when you look around, you think we've got like Lies of P, you've got Bloodborne, you've got Demon Souls, you've got Elden Ring coming out. Like, I know they're not necessarily for us as our choice, but when
I wouldn't play this game I'm pitching.
Yeah, but when I look at Castlevania, I think like you've got like the legacy, the nostalgia, and the theming is just bang on form for what all those games I've just listed is.
Yeah.
And like if Konami would just pull their head out their ass for 5 seconds and stop pimping it out to every other publisher and going, yeah, you put Castlevania in your game as some cool DLC. Yes, it's cool DLC.
It's got the lore there as well.
Yeah, and everyone loves vampires and shit.
Like, with Soulsborne games, apart from like the stuff that we don't like about them, with like the combat and things like that, and the crushing difficulty, the lore and the way like them games tell their story through just you exploring the environment, just suits it so well.
Yeah, like, finding old rotten notes and books and lore just scattered around, and meeting side characters who tell you about the history of what's going on in the world. And
you could even start off as a completely new character, play a customizable character, and you go back to the castle and you're uncovering the pieces of like whatever, I can't, what's the name? Alucard and Belmont and like, yeah. And their adventures through this area, and you're piecing together what happened to them. Yeah.
Did you ever watch the Netflix series?
I didn't.
Mate, like I'm not really one for like anime, but honestly, Netflix have been smashing out the park when I've gone back in. Based on other podcasts who've recommended it, the Castlevania series was just amazing. The Cyberpunk series, Edge Runners was amazing. Like if you watch the Cyberpunk one, Castlevania is more of the same, but in this dark, gritty world. But like the animation quality, the sound and the storytelling is just some of the best shit I've ever seen. And I'm not an anime guy. You do.
I need to start a list of stuff I need to watch because I have been watching more TV recently.
Have you been going to the movies more recently though, Richie?
Maybe.
Because
a bit. Not so much more, but a little bit.
Because there's a movie that you'll definitely, probably not want to go see, and that is the Borderlands movie. It releases this week, and Eli Roth's Borderlands movie has some early impressions out there, and they're not great. It actually launched on Rotten Tomatoes with a score of 0%, which I don't know if that's ever happened before.
With Rotten Tomatoes, the way it works is it goes, would you recommend or not kind of thing. So when it launches, if the first person to post a review goes, wouldn't recommend, then you're going to get a 0%.
Yep. Obviously, we don't want
So it's not an average of like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, we don't want to tarnish it with that brush because we haven't seen it, so we can't really critique. But the critics can, and they've taken to social media after seeing it, saying the live-action film adaptation of Gearbox's looter shooter is everything from a huge misfire to a disaster. It was initially announced back in 2015 before vanishing for absolute age and then resurfacing as a new project in 2020 with a new director, which is Eli Roth. Since then, it's hired high-profile actors like Cate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis, Gina Gershwin, Kevin Hart, and Jack Black signed on to the project, giving fans hope that it wouldn't be terrible, but evidently, seemingly it is. Borderlands is a disaster, says Bite-Sized Breakdowns writer. Filled with every cliche you can ponder, this film swaps the mayhem and imagination of the games for a lifeless, unfunny, and visually repulsive dud with annoying characters and a cast not 1 ounce of chemistry. Scathing. I feel like this is one, if you're a big fan of the games, you'll probably enjoy it just for seeing your game brought to life in live action. But aside from that, it sounds like everything's bad. They said Jack Black's performance is great. No surprise there.
Yeah.
But everyone else, it just seems like an odd thing. I think Jamie Lee Curtis and Cate Blanchett are like oddly old for this movie, to put too fine a point in it. Like, I feel like Borderlands, it is a young person's game, if you get what I'm coming at. Like, I feel like if this movie had like a younger cast, it would maybe appeal to a younger audience. And I think because of the wacky zaniness of it. Yeah.
Isn't she? Yeah, I always would have cast a bit younger, maybe going for an unknown.
Yeah.
It feels almost like they've went for a star-studded cast to cover up the failings of the plot.
So you can end the trailer by going boom, 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 with all these big names, and people go, oh, that looks good. The trailer, actually, the last trailer I saw before Deadpool and Wolverine didn't look too bad.
The trailers look good, to be honest.
It did look exactly like a Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff, but that's not a bad thing.
But tonally, Borderlands isn't that far from Guardians.
Yeah, it isn't. Let's have a look at another review from Loud and Clear Reviews. Writer Edgar Ortega, liking Borderlands 2 movie, an out-of-touch executive thinks he's the cool kids and finding appeal. He slammed it for its obnoxious quips that feel dated as soon as they leave the actors' mouths before declaring it, not even so bad, it's good, just a complete mess. So it's not even like a good bad movie where you can enjoy how poor it is. It just seems like it's just bad. Full reviews of major publications like Empire and stuff and Rolling Stone will no doubt be up probably by the time the show goes live. But if you're willing to take a chance on Borderlands, it is launching. Well, it's out now.
Yeah.
You going to see it?
I'm open to go and see it. I don't know. I'm quite busy at the moment. It's not a guarantee I would need to see it at the cinema. I might wait till it comes to Netflix or something.
Yeah, I'd probably watch it if it was on Amazon or something. Unless all the official reviews come out and do say it's an utter shit pile. Then I might really go.
I did want to go see it before the reviews started coming out.
Same.
But now I'm like, I'll wait. I definitely do still want to see it, but I don't necessarily want to pay cinema prices to see it.
Yeah, and you're a bigger Borderlands fan than me anyway, so you've got that inclination. But Richie, that brings us to an end of the news this week. So as always, let's look, I was going to say ahead. We're actually going to look back at this day in video game history. We're recording this on Friday the 9th of August. And thankfully, looking back 33 years ago today, in 1991, Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, launched on the Game Boy. Ta-da.
Convenient.
Conveniently lines up. Any other ones from August 9th you want to pick out?
I need to translate it. But BS Zelda no Densetsu, I think, might be the second. I'm not Zelda, but came on Super Nintendo. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it is a Zelda game.
Okay. I'm intrigued by...
It's an expanded version of the original Legend of Zelda for the Super Nintendo rather than the original Nintendo.
Ah, okay. Interesting. I'm intrigued by August 10th, 36 years ago, 1988 in Japan, Tatake Ramen Man Sakuretsu Kujin 102 Gai came out on the NES. Don't know what it is, but he's called Ramen Man.
Nice.
So thinking of platform games at the time, is it just a man who runs around throwing ramen at people? Who knows?
Is it?
Who knows?
Maybe he's a man made out of ramen.
Maybe, yeah, an actual ramen man. Not much else going on that I can see.
It feels fairly quiet.
Yeah, I'm scrolling ahead a couple of days.
Paper Mario, a beloved game, came out on the 11th.
There's one. I'll pick from the 11th. Everybody's Gone to the Rapture came out 9 years ago. Of course, Still Wakes the Deep just came out from the Chinese room. So nice little throwback to one of their previous games there.
Oh, No Man's Sky, 8 years ago on the 9th.
No Man's Sky, 8 years ago already for that, damn.
Yeah.
Just look at that.
It took
game.
8 years. It took like 6 years for it to become a good game, though. But
it
came out.
Did, but as we say, a good game's never broken if you support it for a further decade to make it good. 8th of August, Dead Rising came out on the Xbox 360. Dead Rising Remake, just about to come out next month.
Oh, here's one for you, Chris. I skipped ahead to August the 12th. The PC.
The PC.
It just says PC 43 years ago.
The PC.
MS-DOS.
August the 12th, did you say?
Yeah. 43 years ago, 1981.
Just PC. Just
PC.
PC. That must be Windows PC. Because we've got...
No, it's pre-Windows. It's MS-DOS.
It says Microsoft in the thumbnail.
Yeah, but it's before Windows.
Oh, right. Okay, I see what you're saying now. Wow. Who was the first PC? Is it Alan Turing with his Turing machine? After the code brain uses the code, like the full, like an actual able to calculate and compute things.
I think that's one of them where it depends how you define what a personal computer is. Because you could keep, I go, yes, Turing definitely made advancements, but some of the stuff he used, he probably stole from someone else, and they stole from someone else. It's
look on
kind of
Google. Yeah. If you go the first computer, it was Charles Babbage, which I feel like I've heard that name, which probably in 1820. A mechanical device that used steam and hand crank to calculate values and print the results into a table. Not too dissimilar to an engine. It could only compute numbers. But
that's what they used to call them, isn't it? Like my computing engine.
Computing machine. Yeah. Charles Babbage. Shout out to Charles.
Let us know in the comments, when was the first what you would define as a modern PC? So therefore it's a box you plug into the wall to get electricity. It has things like a screen. It can be text-based.
Well, there's Alan Turing invented the computer science. The ENIAC in 1945 was the first electronical general purpose digital computer. It filled a room. Shout out to computers. PC, the good old personal computer, Richie. Most of us have one. Most of us have used one. But how the world would be different if we didn't.
You might even be sat in front of one right now.
Like we are. And you know what? Without the personal computer, you certainly wouldn't have this podcast. And without us and without you, you wouldn't have anything to listen to. Every single Monday, 8 a.m, this show goes live. And that brings us to an end for our 1 year anniversary of the GamerGuild Podcast. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Thank you to everybody who's supported us. Of course, we've got our 5th anniversary coming up on the 28th of September. We'll be celebrating with you, hopefully in person. We need to lock down a hotel, Richie.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
We'll discuss it tomorrow.
We need to get booked.
We need to get booked. So we can let you know. But remember, if you get Saturday the 28th off, we'll be seeing you in Manchester for some drinks and shenanigans to celebrate our 5th anniversary. We'll probably do a celebratory stream on the week of. So we've actually got something digital to do with those folks who can't quite make it. Again, let us know in the comments. Let us know on the Discord what you would like us to play with us, without us, watch us. Do let us know. But that has been it for episode number 52 of the GamerGuild Podcast. My name has been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been the GamerGuild Podcast. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. And remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye. See you next week.
Bye.